Be careful out there, guys. After calling on truckers to boycott driving to New York City in response to the civil fraud judgment that fined former President Donald Trump more than $350 million last week, Chicago Ray has taken back his call to action and took the video down after it went viral, and he said that his grandson saw it on TikTok. Still, he said that he stands with Trump 100%. Truckers for Trump. He says he's his own man, period. But you really got to wonder, are we sure that there wasn't any kind of outside government pressure here? So Chicago Ray's original post read, "My advice to New Yorkers is start stocking up. There's millions of truckers for Trump, millions of us. Leave Trump TF alone." Now, I can definitely imagine some shadowy government entity possibly reaching out and threatening him to take it down. But the movement has certainly just begun. So we got Elena Cardone, the wife of wealthy real estate investor Grant Cardone. She created a GoFundMe page called Stand Up With Trump. Fund the $355 million unjust judgment. Now, before I get into the details on this, because things are really escalating here, all I ask from you guys is that you take a second, drop a quick like for the video. I totally appreciate that. We have a lot to cover today, and I want to thank you guys so much for always sharing these videos. It means a ton to me. So get this, guys. This, as a Canadian court found that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's use of the country's Emergencies Act to end a truck convoy protest that had paralyzed the capital, Ottawa, 2 years ago, was an unjustified infringement of civil rights, including the protection against unreasonable search and seizure, and in some instances, the freedom of expression as well. Meaning, a potential trucker protest in New York City could definitely stand up in court. Coming from a legal perspective, at least. Now, I'm no lawyer whatsoever. This is not legal advice. In fact, I even found language from the Georgetown University Law Center talking about trucker convoys or other vehicular demonstrations. They say that as long as truckers are not violating state or local laws or threatening any kind of public safety or anything like that, the activity is likely protected by the Constitution. All this and more as we really get into the deep legal aspects of the potential New York City trucker protest. I got so much more to share with you guys. Now, I'm telling you, this new Canada court ruling against Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, it could just be what New York City trucker protest needs in order to change the game. So they're basically saying that Trudeau's actions against the convoy protests in Canada were unreasonable. Check this out.
Okay, so let's just go over the language that the judge used in terms of his conclusion, saying, "I have concluded that the decision to issue the proclamation," that would be the invoking of the Emergencies Act, "does not bear the hallmarks of reasonableness, justification, transparency, and intelligibility, and was not justified in relation to the relevant factual and legal constraints that were required to be taken into consideration."
This was what happened when Chicago Ray basically took down his Truckers for Trump post less than 24 hours after the call to action. So according to him, he took that video down because it went viral and his grandson saw it on TikTok. But still, he says he still stands with Trump 100%, truckers for Trump and all that. So Chicago Ray, he continued writing that drivers can make their own decisions based on their families and their own personal careers. He says he is not the leader of any kind of movement, but he's still his own man. He ends it with, God bless America, God bless Trump, and God bless every truck driver in this country. But you got to wonder, did somebody get to Ray? Did somebody get to Chicago Ray and kind of pressure him to maybe take the post down? Did the government have something to do with this? I mean, I'm curious on that one. I mean, the current administration definitely has a track record of using government resources against President Trump or former President Donald Trump. And there's the fact that Chicago Ray's post and this New York City truckers protest are in response to Trump being barred from even operating his business in New York for 3 years and being found liable for more than $355 million in damages in the civil fraud case brought against him. So, I mean, this is pretty huge here. And it's not just the civil fraud cases brought, the $355 million civil fraud case brought against him. It's his family and the Trump organization. New York City Judge Arthur Ergonon, he handed down this ruling last week after a months-long trial that began in October and stemmed from the lawsuit that accused the former president of inflating his assets and committing fraud. And as a result, many pro-Trump truck drivers across the country, they've not taken this lightly. I mean, they're almost taking this personal. So Chicago Ray's original post said something like this: advice for New Yorkers is start stocking up. There's millions of truckers for Trump, millions. So leave Trump the F alone, basically, right? And a lot of comments on that original post as well, showing support for the former president and truck drivers not taking any kind of shipments to New York City. One mentioned how they thank every truck driver that is participating in the refusal to deliver to New York City, and even those that have no choice because they have families and they really can't afford to do it. Basically, we appreciate our truckers one way or the other. Another commented, God bless each of the truck drivers taking a stand against corruption. Then, of course, there's Elena Cardone, the wife of wealthy real estate investor Grant Cardone. So she created a GoFundMe page called Stand with Trump, fund the $355 million Unjust Judgment. Now, since launching the fundraiser, it has taken in more than $500,000. Her husband explained on X that 100% of the funds will be forwarded to the Trump organization for the defense of this ridiculous judgment. So Grant Cardone expressed his support too, basically saying that he stands unwaveringly with President Donald Trump in face of what he's seeing as unprecedented and unfair treatment by certain judicial elements in New York. I mean, and if you think about it, Grant Cardone is a huge real estate investor. He's a real estate developer. So he could literally, theoretically, have been dealing with or faced with the same problem that Donald Trump is dealing with today. All real estate investors, all real estate developers are feeling some degree of they're feeling for the issue that Donald Trump is dealing with right now. So he also added how the recent legal battles that Trump's facing is not just an attack on him. It's an attack on the very ideals and the fairness and due process that every American deserves. Now, for a lot of people, this is the easiest boycott ever. They're saying this is the consequence of letting the lies go unchallenged over and over again. Some are even saying that they should have boycotted New York a long time ago, along with many other states that businesses should pack up and leave New York too. No doubt, people are getting tired of the legal system being misused. But what do you guys think? I mean, this is definitely a complex issue with a lot of moving parts. So appreciate you guys hanging in there. But so, I think it sure is funny how the media all of a sudden loves the trucking industry. I mean, like I read in the comment from one of you guys recently, New York needs 3 things to survive: farmers, truckers, and troops. And I think the New York City boycott is definitely causing some major concerns in the city. And the New York court, or the new court ruling coming from Canada about their own truck convoy protests could certainly come out when it could certainly help when it comes to backing the legal backing for this. So basically, a Canadian court found that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's use of the country's Emergencies Act to end a truck convoy protest that paralyzed the capital, Ottawa, 2 years ago, it was an unjustified infringement of civil rights, including the protection against unreasonable search and seizure, and in some instances, the freedom of expression as well. The Federal Court of Canada decision, it also found that the freezing of bank accounts of people linked to the protest was similarly unjustified. And you only have to look at what happened in Canada to see just how big these trucker protests can get. The protests in Ottawa rendered most of the city's downtown streets impassable, clogging them with parked trucks. I mean, Judge Mosley said that evidence from the 2 civil rights groups that brought the lawsuit against the government persuaded him that the decision to issue the proclamation does not bear the hallmarks of reasonableness, justification, transparency, and intelligibility. And it was also not justified in relation to the relevant fact and the legal constraints. Man, this is exactly what the people are saying about the current ruling against Trump in this $335 million fraud case. And as for the Ottawa truckers protest, the judge ruled that it did not amount to any kind of serious violence or even threats of serious violence, and it did not constitute threats or the use of serious violence to persons or property. So here too, in the United States, a trucker protest, much like we're talking about in New York City, should theoretically stand up in court. So here's what Georgetown University Law Center had to say about the Freedom Convoy a while back. If drivers are participating in a political demonstration, for example, a procession displaying political insignia, flags, etc., and they're not violating state or local laws or threatening public safety, the activity is likely protected by the Constitution. Law enforcement may ensure that traffic keeps flowing safely, including, by directing traffic at intersections and helping pedestrians to safely cross the streets, for example. Law enforcement should endeavor to foster the protected activity while protecting public safety. Now, also, law enforcement should not discriminate in the enforcement of traffic or any other laws based on viewpoint or the demonstrators. So looking back, the People's Convoy, as they called it in DC, which they basically protested vaccine mandates and aired other right-wing grievances by driving around Washington, D.C. region for more than 3 weeks. This may be kind of what started this kind of movement here in the United States. The protest didn't quite accomplish what they set out to do, but researchers are pointing out how these people are still in the region, and others return home to their local communities armed with even more information about and how to prepare for the next wave. Now, check this out. So a Monmouth University graduate student who studies this kind of social media rhetoric said that the convoy is everywhere. So these people, those people are everywhere, and they will run for office, and they will vote, and they will try to be in charge of running elections and ballot counting and poll watching. It is possible to imagine a scenario in which a trucker protest in New York City could very well escalate to the whole United States. For example, if the protesters' grievances are widely shared by truckers across the country, and if the protests in New York City are met with a heavy-handed police response, then there could very well be a backlash from truckers in other states. This could lead to sympathy protests and even strikes, which could then disrupt the supply chain and have a significant impact on the economy. So, as you guys can see, this is a very urgent and very complex issue with some far-reaching implications for all of America. So I think it's very important to stay informed, but let me know you guys' thoughts on this. Share your perspective in the comment section down below, and don't forget to give this video a like. I totally appreciate it. And if you really want to help the channel out, definitely share this video. Thank you so much, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Y'all be safe.